Welcome back to Press Review. Let's start by taking a look at today's front pages in the Middle East. From Israel, the Jerusalem Post reports that the Israeli Air Force struck 29 targets across the Gaza Strip on Wednesday night in response to a large-scale rocket attack on the south. It also reports on David Cameron's visit as he delivers what the paper describes as a warm Knesset speech, opting not to chide Israel over settlements. From the UAE, the Khalij Times leads its paper reporting that a British man who suffered horrific facial injuries in a motorbike accident has had pioneering surgery to rebuild his face using 3D printed parts. It also reports that Malaysia's military has traced what could have been the jetliner missing for almost 5 days to an area near India's Andaman and the Nicobar Islands. From Lebanon, the Daily Star reports that Israel pounded nearly 30 targets in Gaza overnight after militants fired scores of rockets into the south, prompting Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas to demand that it halt its escalation. It also reports that Thai police have discovered about 200 suspected Turkish refugees at a secret camp in the kingdom's deep south, officials say, describing the case as unprecedented. From Saudi Arabia, the Arab News reports that a prominent Saudi female activist and winner of an international award has called for the establishment of a special ministry for empowering women and tackling their issues. It also reports that Saudi Arabia announced that it would not stop members of the Muslim Brotherhood listed among terrorist organizations in the kingdom from coming to perform Hajj and pilgrimage. Egypt Independent reports that U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said on Wednesday he will decide in the days ahead whether to resume U.S. aid to Egypt after suspending the funds last year over the ouster of President Mohamed Morsi and a crackdown against protesters. It also reports that the United Arab Emirates summoned Iraq's ambassador to protest accusations by Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki that Saudi Arabia was supporting terrorism. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East section in UK papers. The Daily Telegraph leads its Middle East section reporting that the United Nations has called on the world to not forget Syria on the eve of the third anniversary of the war that is killing hundreds of people every day and displacing millions more. The appeal came as Banksy, the iconic British street artist, sought to refocus public attention on the victims of the conflict by adapting one of his most famous pieces to a Syrian mode. The Independent leads its Middle East section reporting that Saudi Arabia intends to close the local office of the Qatari-owned Al Jazeera satellite television station in the latest episode in the escalating conflict in which the Saudis, the Emiratis and the Bahrainis are in confrontation with Qatar. The Guardian reports that David Cameron was briefed by Tony Blair in East Jerusalem on Thursday on the state of the Palestinian economy and the Middle East peace talks for a meeting with Mahmoud Abbas. Blair's visit to Israel is his 114th since he was appointed as the quartered Middle East envoy in 2007. And now let's take a look at the top Middle East stories in international papers. The Wall Street Journal reports that 2 people died as protests grew in several Turkish cities after the funeral of a teenager whose death kicked off the largest anti-government demonstrations since unrest swept the nation last year. It says that clashes are feeding fears the country could plunge into unrest ahead of crucial elections this month and underscore the polarization between supporters and opponents of Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The Los Angeles Times leads its Middle East section reporting that Egypt's presidential election previously set for this spring could be pushed back to midsummer. The office of interim President Hadi Mansour was quoted as saying Wednesday that the new deadline for the vote was July the 17th, after being previously set for mid-April. And finally, the China Daily reports U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has acknowledged difficulty in promoting peace talks between the Israelis and the Palestinians, despite his strenuous efforts for the past year. The top American envoy pointed to the level of mistrust between the parties, which he called as large as any level of mistrust I've ever seen. And for more updates, please visit us on Levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again tomorrow, and bye for now.